Is this on now? Can you hear me in the back? All right, good, thank you. So thanks for the introduction. My name is Morten. I'm one of the 3 founders of Zendesk. And then first of all, thanks to the presenters before for setting a good high bar. I just told Core, where are you, Core? That I'm here for the filler to make sure we just take the level down a bit so he can shine at the end. But I'm here to talk about Zendesk, and like Mette, I took it very literally and have 3 select decisions. Some of them are very explicit and determined decisions. Others were more sort of it happened and we were agreed on it by coincidence. I'm one of the 3 founders. I was the CTO of Zendesk since inception until last year when I stepped down. I now live back in Copenhagen after 7 years in San Francisco. I had twins last year. They say startups are hard, twins. That's a tough one. But I'm very much enjoying being back in Copenhagen and of course meeting a lot of new faces and familiar faces in the startup space here. Enough about me. I'll just say briefly about Zendesk, where we're at now today. It's a larger company. This is from our earnings call a little more than 2 months ago, so we have a new earnings call coming up in 3 weeks. But we clocked 2,300 employees around the world and in 17 different offices. We spend a lot of time investing in culture, and the way we do it, we do a lot of CSR work, volunteering in the neighborhoods where we have offices. It's a fantastic way to build culture. It's a fantastic way to have engineers meet people from marketing and go out and do something good together. We have customers all over the world. We do a lot of customer service requests, of course. That's sort of our currency. And 125,000 paid customers ranging from small one-seat mom-and-pop shops to large multinational deals with thousands of licenses. And of course, went live in Copenhagen in 2007. All right, so 3 pivotal decisions from this journey. It's been going on for 13 years. We started in 2005, as you'll see. And of course, there are millions of decisions happening all the time, but we've picked 3 that sort of, for sure, helped with our growth. It also stood out as something that changed Zendesk from so many other startups. The first one is moving to the US, and the second one is helping customers self-serve, and the third one is having a global engineering operation. So the story starts in 2005. This is the 3 of us back then, old picture, but standing on a scaffold on Østerbro outside Mikkel's apartment, smoking and drinking red wine, and we have this thing here. We're like super upset, as you can see, about customer service. So at this point in time, Mikkel and I had been working selling enterprise-scale customer service systems, and we figured out something was wrong about it, and that we should do something about it. So you can say this is the first decision. We decided to do something about it. We decided to start a company, and we connected with Alexander, who had in his past worked something called Arineum, which was the largest web agency in Denmark before the dot-com crash. So he was also bitter and needed to get back into a real company. So 3 bitter men determined to do something about it. We were all freelance consultants at the time, good lives. You make good money, a lot of freedom, you're in high demand. So it's a good, safe life. We could just have continued that. We were at this time all in our 30s. So we also knew that if we didn't do something about it now, we would probably never get to sort of create our own company again. So we set out, this is us, and set out into the Danish startup scene. Hey everyone! Nothing, no one was there. Nothing really happening in Copenhagen at the time in terms of startups. So that's why I'm super happy to see this turnout today here. No VCs, no funding. We did meet a few investors who were institutional investors in Copenhagen back then. They didn't really have any interest in us, which I think to date, I'm not bitter, but we had decent resumes at the time. We had done good stuff for our career at the time, and it wasn't enough for them to even give us 100,000 euros or anything. So we just set out on our own lonely journey. And as part of this journey, eventually we came to this decision point where we had to move to the US. So that's the first decision I want to talk about today, moving to the US. I don't even recall it being an explicit decision where we sat down and said, let's do it. It's more like this was in our minds from the start, that if we wanted to take this shot, we wanted to make the most of it, then we probably had to go to the US for our kind of business. So we just had this awareness in us. It wasn't even up for debate. I don't even think our girlfriends knew about it, but we were going to move to the US. How does something like that come about? Well, we were, like all other startups, trying to get attention and find traction and have dialogues with investors abroad and whatnot. And this here is Jason Calcanis, famous Silicon Valley voice, whatever, who in 2014 tweeted this, congrats to us when we IPO'd, because back in the day, we actually called him from Mikkel's apartment, landline telephone, like in the middle of the night. We called him and Mike Arrington and had a talk with them. We tried to get into what was called the TechCrunch 40 at the time, and we were pitching Zendesk, blah, 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 and they said, so this is essentially a help desk with an RSS feed? Yeah. Too simple, it's never going to work. So they hung up on us. Simple was what we were trying to sell, because we came from a world that was quite broken. These things, we did tons of these things to try and engage with the community in Silicon Valley, but eventually we had to wait a few years after launch until we had the opportunity to go. In 2008, the credit crunch happened, and that meant all doors got shut on us. We had good, decent dialogues with a few VCs on the West Coast, and it wasn't until 2009 we managed to secure a Series A. And that was a VC who flew out from Boston on the East Coast. He came to see us in Copenhagen as the first guy ever. Came to see us and sat down with us at the coffee table, which was a door and like two sawhorses, and sat down, had a croissant, and he liked us, and he liked our mission. So after a few back and forth and sort of some disagreements, whatever, we managed to agree and close the deal. And in 2009, we were able to move to the US. September 2009, we moved over. And spent all our Series A money on lawyers and got our visas. And the moment we had moved into the US and showed our commitment to move in and moved our IP to Delaware, we got 4 Series B offers. So it's just much more easy for Americans to invest in an American company, which we had just become. And then we moved to Silicon Valley right away. We had hired some people. We asked them if they wanted to come. They did not, so we moved without them and had to start over. It was tough, different story. Then we moved to Silicon Valley. And here comes it. So why move to the US? What is it that the US can do? And why is it that Europe is not, the next Silicon Valley? It's not right around the corner. The US has a tradition that predates World War II in technical product development. It has a tradition for collaborating between universities and industries. It has a tradition to collaborate even between competing business, like Facebook and Google. They collaborate on AI, on hardware blueprints and whatnot, and then they compete up here on the ad space, right? So they have this long tradition of building product and of competing, creating friction and growing together. And there's capital. You need that to grow fast, right? And there's hunger, and there's fallibility. It's like you've seen Elon Musk's rocket explode left and right, and he comes out and says, "Yeah, it blew up. The next couple of rockets are going to blow up as well. It's okay." You would never see someone from ESA come out, like a German engineer, say, "It blew up." It's never going to happen, right? But the US has this. So there's this entirely different mentality, and we need to have a few more generations of startups here in Copenhagen and Europe before we sort of can have some of the same. So I think we have a few years ahead of us. But this, moving to the US, tremendous growth driver for us. All right, number 2, helping customers self-serve. That means helping them do stuff on their own without you having to go out and make them do it. When we started Zendesk, the delivery model and the sales model were all like old school enterprise sales, and you go out and you sort of, you have this great product. This is what the product looked like, right? You go out there and no one's gonna ever gonna sign up to use something like that. Who would do that? They would rather die, right? But the thing was, back then, you would have some sales guy go out and sell it to a CIO or a CEO or some other executive, and he'd just jam it down the throats of the customer service and say, "There, we have customer service." And the poor people sitting in customer service would sit there and say, what's going on here, right? Sit with this product. So our first motto was love your help desk, because everyone hated their help desk. So we wanted to change that. We wanted to make it beautiful and simple and elegant. And this was really our competition. So this is the guy, the sales guy, traditional enterprise sales guy. Give him his best suit on, go out there and do stuff. Execution, and it doesn't really work. Mikkel, Alex, and I all hated salespeople, but more the fact that we hated being sold to ourselves. we didn't like when people tried to sell to us. We want something genuine, something that we can believe in, and not just people just giving us snake oil and hoping that we're going to give them money back, right? So this is what we wanted to avoid, actually. And the way we did it was to say, you can sign up for Zendesk. You don't need any support from us. In fact, we'd rather you don't call us. We want to make it so simple you can just do it. This is what our sign-up page looks like today. You see, it's an egg with a crack, so it means there's some more steps here. But back in the day, it was super freaking simple. And we had 10,000 customers before we hired our first salesperson. Today, I love salespeople, because I've seen how you can also do sales. It's a very different model than what was 10 years ago. So we just wanted it really, really simple, self-serve. You can sign up for Zendesk and get running. People would sign up, and 10 minutes later, they were live in business, accepting emails left and right, supporting their customers, and that was unheard of. At that time, if you helped the system to integrate with email, you had to, enterprise project, 5 months, not going to happen. But here, it just worked. So self-serve was very different. We were selling to consumers. The traditional model was do you want to try a product? Call us. We want to talk to you. We want sign up, don't call us, you're good to go, right? And that drove a lot of business for us, and it still does, especially in the SMB segment. Now, customer self-serving goes a bit beyond that. Initially, we had plans, small plan, medium plan, large plan, gives you 3 seats, 10 seats, 50 seats, and you're sort of tied into these plans. And we ended up having hundreds of plans because one plan would never really fit someone, until we had the brilliant, but today obvious idea to just, pay per seat. How many agents do you want? You want 10? Fine, type in 10. Do you want 17? Make that 17 instead. You do it, self-serve. It's good for you. And the truth is that today, expansion business is a huge part of our business. It's people we never hear from. They just go in and give us more money. And it's a terrific thing for us and for them. Gives them freedom to also say, it's going to be summer vacation, we're going to dial down the number of agents. And we're like, fine, that's okay. You're not using the system as much. You can keep the data, it's fine. And then it's a hectic season, we're going to dial it back up again. But reality is, most people just keep adding to that number, and it's a big part of our growth driver. And we mention this constantly also in our earnings calls, so there's a lot of data out there on it supporting all this. So helping customers self-serve. Oops, whoa. And number 3, so when you have a lot of growth, it puts a lot of demand on your organization as well in terms of what you can deliver and features and throughput, stability, scalability. And this is where engineering comes into the picture. So as you know, we moved to San Francisco in 2009, right after the credit crunch, which was in 2008. It was fairly easy to hire. I hired a bunch of great engineers of all sorts of strange channels because I didn't have any network. Like Craigslist ads, all these weird things, and they have these dating things. I think they're in Denmark as well now. You go out and date people, you meet 10 potential employees, and it's really awkward conversations. But we tried everything, and we worked out fairly well. But the economy came back up to speed in 2010. Slowly, we could see, okay, more and more competition from Facebook, Google, Twitter, whatnot. Okay, there's a new generation of startups coming, taking away people as well. Okay, and we just got a new investment round. We got to scale faster. What do we do? Well, go back to Copenhagen. We had burned all bridges when we left in 2009. And then 2 years later, yeah, okay, maybe Copenhagen has something. The reason we went back to Copenhagen is, of course, we knew people here. We had a network. People knew us. The brand had good value. And we knew and understood the mentality. I mean, if you've ever outsourced anything, you understand how important it is to really be able to communicate with people. We could do that with Danes. So in 2011, we opened up an office in Denmark. Had a few bumps in the road in terms of how do we collaborate on this code base. You're here, we're there, 9 hours apart. But we managed to iron that out. The year after, we repeated the success in Melbourne. And Melbourne had the same as Copenhagen had back in the day, back in the time. Not too many startups, and not too many opportunities for engineers to work on products, to have ownership. They would go out and become consultants or work for banks and these things. Here you come and offer them, hey, here's a vision. You can own it, run with it, build something fantastic, and they loved it. So a great starting point for us to hire great people as well. And we've repeated this exercise in different ways, by acquisitions, by expanding. And today we have all these offices around the world, 9 of which we have product development in. So, of course, headquarters was San Francisco. We have some in Madison, in Portland. Dublin is our European headquarters, but also in terms of engineering. We have Copenhagen, Montpellier, France. We acquired a company. In Singapore, we acquired a company. Melbourne was the second remote location. Manila, we have some tech ops as well. So we sort of expanded to have engineering all over the world. Now that's not free. You know, remote coordination is not free. That's a communication tax, but it's one that we pay to get to hire fantastic people all over the world. And in terms of how we do this, how it helps us grow, is really we realized with the Danes, you know, we had one product, and they would jump in and make a lot of modifications and check out from work, go home and go to sleep, and we'd put it in production. It would just explode, and we had to call them and wake them and say, what's going on? Eventually, you know, it doesn't work to collaborate on something like that. So we split up the product into two. We had the help center. You know, Copenhagen guys, you're all super smart. You should have something that's your ownership, that you independently control and run and operate. And then we don't have this interference going on anymore about where you touch something you don't really understand the ramifications of. And this line of thinking we've expanded to all these other products. You know, Chat is in Singapore, Message Singapore, Talk is in Dublin, Connect is in Melbourne, Explore is Montpellier. So we have all these different teams with local ownership, autonomy, and vision and drive, and then we communicate between these through mostly our public APIs. And from the customer perspective, they just see, you know, the front of this. You know, they see the standards we've set for UI, the standards we've set for APIs, that these silos exist independently below. You know, it's not going to affect them at all. They just see what we've defined as this is what the customer can see. This is what the minimum we need to agree on as an internal company, so our customers don't get confused by all these different independent organizations executing and building the same product. So splitting up or having global engineering has given us so much opportunity to grow, not only in terms of how we distribute the workload, but also where we hire over time as economies, you know, tend to sort of, maybe they're more stable in Melbourne, where they're unstable in San Francisco, and we can sort of drive cost in terms of salary expectations. All right, that's